Welcome inside the Joey Moss Suite at Commonwealth Stadium. It's, of course, our home studio for Antler Up. A reminder, like, subscribe, share, and comment. Whatever platform you're listening to the show on, it's going to, of course, help others find Antler Up. Thanks for downloading and listening today. The Elks are in Ottawa on Friday night for their next game. In fact, the next two games will be on the road, in Ottawa and then in Saskatchewan. Check out goelks.com to find out about the watch parties. Next home game set for July 13th. Against Hamilton. Today's guest is both a rookie and the oldest player on the team.
Dean Faithfull from the 17, his first regular season field goal attempt. He went 6 for 9 in the preseason. This one is up, and it is through, and the Elks have themselves on the board.
Antler Up, episode 24. Dean Faithfull, let's go.
Touchdown, Antler Up, Edmonton, touchdown Elks. Taylor Cornelius takes it himself as he got an open lane to the end zone. Antler Up, Edmonton, touchdown Elks.
You're kind of a walking contradiction. Oldest player in the team, but you're a rookie. How do you feel about that?
It's definitely different, of course. But yeah, I embrace it. You know, I've been older for a while. You know, since I started kicking a ball in a football, in American football / Canadian football. I was old at that point, or older than most people. So nothing new, nothing different. Obviously, being a rookie, you know, people find it interesting, but it's just another day for me.
You're a rookie in the CFL, but you're not really a rookie. I mean, you had your 4 years of college soccer. Can I call it that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You had a lot of years of pro soccer in Europe, and you had a year of football in college, right? And now, so being involved in sports, it's not new to you, right? You're technically a rookie, but it's kind of old hat, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm used to the environment, used to being in a professional environment and sort of lived in that world for a while. So there's lots of things that carry over, yeah. So in that sense, definitely not a rookie, you know, used to crowds and used to the pressure of performing. And, you know, I think that helps me as a kicker at this point. You know, if I was a rookie coming in at 20, there's obviously a lot to learn mentally, but I think I have that advantage as an older player.
All right, let's go back 36 years ago. Born in England. Whereabouts in England?
Southampton, England, or more specifically Winchester, England, which was the old capital before London.
Okay, and whereabouts is that in England?
South of England, so you go south of London an hour and a half, and you're right on the water there. Mm-hmm. So it's a docking city. It's where the Titanic originally left.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So it's
I imagine is there things marking it there? And,
yeah, there's a Titanic museum and all that kind of stuff going on. So
you've been to it, I assume?
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat to see the history. It's a nice city. It's small, and but sort of now we live in the countryside a bit.
Yeah. You grew up in that city too?
Like, yeah. I grew up in a little town outside of the city called Hedge End, the end of a hedge.
Okay.
So, yeah, exactly how it sounds. Just a small village, but yeah, within Southampton as a city.
Okay. How many people live there in Southampton?
In Southampton, I think there's only. Good question. I think the last time I looked, it's a couple 100,000.
Yeah. Okay.
It's small.
Not a huge place, but
yeah,
still has all the modern conveniences, I would assume.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm as guilty as everybody about this, but since you've been here, how much time have you spent talking about Ted Lasso?
Yeah.
Does everybody ask you?
Everybody, yeah, lots. And I actually had to catch up on the finale, but I have now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, everyone talks about it.
I know you're kind of. We've talked about it before. You're kind of the opposite, right? He's the coach going from, you know, American football to soccer, and you're the player going from soccer to American football. So there are obviously some similarities. So only flipped around the other way. I know I've talked to you before. You enjoy the show, right? I imagine it hits home with you a little bit.
Yeah, I love the show. Yeah, especially being away from home. It kind of, you know, reminds me of home. And I said before, each one of those characters, I think I know somebody like that. So yeah, love the show.
And what do you think of the finale?
Yeah, I suppose we kind of expected it, those of us who watch it. Yeah, just disappointed for it to end, really. But I think I can relate to him wanting to be home and wanting to go back to his roots again. So he kind of achieved what he wanted to achieve in England and changed some lives in England, and now wants to go home. And so I can relate to that.
I know you played pro soccer all over Europe. You played in England too?
Growing up, I stopped playing soccer in England probably when I was 19.
Yeah, okay, but so not pro. You haven't played pro in England?
No.
Okay. I was going to ask how accurate the depiction of pro soccer in England is from that series.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been around a lot of the pro soccer in England, and it is very similar. Yeah, it's probably that camaraderie you see with the team. It's definitely true in soccer. And that stadium is Crystal Palace's stadium, which one of my best friends is a huge fan. So we always go to Palace games. So I've actually been in that stadium where Richmond FC play. So it's quite cool to see that in the sitcom.
Yeah, that's cool. I've never been to soccer games in Edmonton. I've never been to a soccer game in England. I think that would be a pretty cool event. It's kind of a real cultural thing, isn't it? It's like going to a hockey game here, probably, right?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, it's a lot of people's livelihoods. Live for Saturdays, and that community spirit, which kind of makes up soccer, is how soccer was built. And people will say we're losing it a little bit, and maybe we are in the modern game, but there's still that community base to it, for sure.
You get up early on Saturdays to watch games?
Yeah, I do, especially if Southampton are on. Less so than I used to. So I sort of prioritise my sleep and recovery for actual football for Edmonton.
You left England when you were pretty young. You played a lot of soccer all over the world and been traveling. So it's been a long time since you've been an English guy living in England, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you said you were 19?
19 when I left, and then never really... I go back often for Christmas, summers I visited, but haven't lived there for a long time, since I was 19.
When you're living elsewhere, what do you miss?
Honestly, just family, mostly. I do have that feeling when I fly into London and see home. You get that nice feeling of peace, and it's the only way I can describe it. When I'm home, it's peaceful. Just being around my family and friends, and brothers had kids now, so I'm an Uncle Dean. So I miss being around for those parts, and I know I'm sacrificing that time being away.
Do they get to watch Uncle Dean on TV? Does the CFL games go in England?
Yeah, so they have the streaming service that goes out to Europe, and so I've had some of my close friends watch it. My brother has stayed up till 3 a.m. watching the games, and so that support is really appreciated. Yeah, because some of it doesn't finish till 4 a.m. for them.
Yeah. Are you getting feedback though from people?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Why don't you play more?
Yeah. I mean, they're learning the game as well.
Yeah.
For some of them, especially my brother, it's the first time watching the game and learning the rules and figuring out when I might be on, when I'm going to kick. So he's always looking for those opportunities. Oh, Dean might be kicking now, and obviously when I don't get on too much, they've stayed up for a long time.
I hope they didn't stay up to watch the game from BC.
They did, yeah, they did.
One kickoff, right?
My brother and my best friend stayed up and saw one kickoff. So they said they still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
They still love the game.
You owe them a pint, right?
I do.
For that one, yeah.
Oh, more than that. I know. I felt bad.
It was just one kickoff, right?
One kickoff.
Yeah.
That's all I got to do.
You nailed it though, right?
Nailed it.
And there you go.
Greatest kickoff.
That's what you have to go with. So you grew up playing soccer. What other sports do kids play in England?
Obviously, soccer's the main one, and then we have things like cricket. I grew up boxing. Me and my brother grew up boxing, so that's quite popular.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say one of the most popular. It probably goes soccer and then rugby and then cricket.
Yeah.
Rugby being very similar to this game, and I believe the CFL started on some rugby background. Yeah.
Yep. That's very true. Yeah, it was the Western Canadian Rugby League, I believe, when it first until 1949, I think it was. So yeah, for sure, rugby's got its roots. CFL's got its roots in rugby for sure. So you played cricket's a sport I could never. I wanna enjoy cricket. But I can't figure it out half the time. Those games go forever too, right?
Yeah.
Or they can.
Days. Yeah.
Days.
It's one of those. I feel the same about baseball. You watch much baseball at all?
Yeah, I like baseball. Yeah.
It's similar. Being there live is much more entertaining for me than watching it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
For people that are good at cricket and understand the game more, I'm sure it's great to watch on TV too. But in England, being there live, it's a great day out in the summer. Go out for a drink with friends and watch a bit of cricket and occasionally look and see what's happening, but mostly you're just there to socialise.
Beer garden.
Yeah, yeah, really. And it is a good event to be at. So.
Yeah, cool. Baseball's like that too here.
Mm-hmm.
People go, they watch a couple innings, and they wander around and visit for a couple innings, come back and watch a couple innings. So that's kind of how it works.
Very similar.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit from your childhood to 2007. You end up going to Florida to play soccer at Florida Tech. How did that come about?
That started, I went to Taunton's College, which is in Southampton, which is our A-levels. So our last 2 years of what would be high school. And they were sending guys to Illinois to play soccer scholarships. And I was asked, would I like to do that? You interested in going to America, get your degree, play soccer? I said, well, yeah, I'd love to. But me being me, I wanted to find my own path. Like I was like, well, Illinois sounds cool, but there must be other things out there. So I actually came to America for 3 months coaching soccer with a company. And then I ended up in Florida for a couple of weeks coaching. And ended up in Melbourne, Florida, which is where Florida Tech is. And so when I got home, I ended up sending my soccer film to the coach and was just like, hey, looking to get out to the States on scholarship. And one thing led to another, and yeah, had a full scholarship at Florida Tech. So lucky enough to spend 4 years there, and yeah, it was brilliant.
What'd you take?
Study.
Yeah.
I did scientific and technical communication with a minor degree in biology.
Okay.
Which sounds very...
They don't go together very well, do they?
Well, I guess communication was my thing.
Yeah.
I was good at English, loved journalism, wanted to write, and I'd met a guy who worked on boats, scientific journals, and so I thought, well, I'll do the biology thing too, because I always had an interest in the ocean, loved nature, grew up, always in the sea and loved animals, so kind of the biology thing just came as an extra interest, I suppose.
Yeah. How was the soccer team while you were there?
Yeah, it was great. That was, probably one of the best times I had in life was there at Florida Tech. We were building, so the first couple of years took us some time to build, and by the time we left, we reached a final and were really good. And so now the program is one of the best at D2. One of the best in the country at that level, and certainly one of the best in the Sunshine State Conference. So we were part of that building phase, so I'm proud of that too.
What kind of player were you?
I was a centre-back, so not highly skilled, happy to admit that, but could kick a ball, and looking back, that's helped me get to where I am now. I could always kick a ball long, had a ping on me, and then my other side of the game was the physical, header in it, tackling and being a leader at the back. I was captain for a few of my teams, and so had to, those things were important for me on the pitch.
Okay, so you went 07, 08, 09, and 10 at Florida Tech.
Yes.
And then your fifth year at university was at Colorado State at Pueblo, right?
It was, but
there's a little gap between there, isn't there? Like, there's a gap on your college resume of about 11, 12 years, right? So
yeah.
You finished up in 2010 in Florida, and you went to Colorado in 2021. I don't know. What do you want to tackle first, that 2021 year or the gap in between? Where'd you go? What were you doing in between those years?
Well, I started coaching into 2011 at Florida Tech, and then decided, you know what, I'm not ready to stop playing. So I had an opportunity to go to Australia. A coach I knew, an English coach, moved out there. And so I finished at Florida Tech in December, and by February 2012, I was in Australia. So, and playing soccer. And that was at semi-pro level. But just decided, why not go live a different life? You can earn some good money. You work alongside that. So I moved to Queensland, Australia at that point, and playing soccer for the Whitsunday Miners was the team, and then got a job with a newspaper too. So I did a bit of sports.
Doing
reporting? I was a sports editor. Oh. Yeah. So I did some writing, all on the local sports teams, on our team. and even had my own little TV show.
You're the ultimate insider then, weren't you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so I had to write on my own team.
Yeah.
I had to be careful with that.
I imagine you backspaced a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, can't say that.
Can't say that. Yeah, I had to be very neutral with stuff. So, yeah, so that was 2012, and that was the whole year was spent there. And then, so you want to go from there on?
Yeah, keep going. So now let's go to 2013.
Honestly, sometimes I have to really think because so much has gone on. But 2013 was Trinidad and Tobago. Came home, flew out to Trinidad and Tobago, had a friend playing soccer out there, and played in the Pro League there for a team called Central FC. Loved it. Lived in the Caribbean, got to experience that. So that was 2013. Then whilst I was there, I got a phone call. Ended up in Belgium. So an old coach, my phone rang. I thought, who's this? He said, Dean, where are you? He said, I want you in Belgium. You're my centre back. And so I ended up going to Belgium, and that was probably the best level I'd played. That was professional, full-time, and I loved it. I'd kind of ticked off one of my goals at that point. So it was in a place called Vise. And then...
How long did you play there?
That was a year season, and things went down with the club financially. So all of us had to kind of find a different route at the end of the year. And so I ended up back home and back in Trinidad and Tobago again. Thought, okay, well, let's go back, keep doing what I was doing. And then from there, Costa Rica. So it's kind of, the next year was Costa Rica. So now we're looking at like 2017. I'd done a year in Costa Rica with a team called Carmelita, and I'd worked at a language institute too. So I was teaching English as well. So I had these opportunities to play and then work alongside. So I took all these opportunities just to better myself, and whether that was through sport or my career after sport. Came home for a little bit and picked up a job in project management. And so by this point, I was around 30, 32, and was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna settle down. It's time to hang the boots up. But that didn't happen. I ended up coming to a wedding in Florida, and this would have been 2020 of December or January 2020. I went to a wedding in Florida. My old soccer coach, we met up for lunch, and he said, hey, do you want to be a kicker? And this is how this journey started.
A football kicker.
Yep, a football kicker. So, and we were just chatting. I'd never thought about it before. And he said, hey, look, the coach needs a kicker. You be good. Do you want to try out tomorrow? And I had a flight to London the next day. Cancelled the flight and decided to go to the tryout. And so just gave myself, an opportunity. I had a good day, kicked well. I was very differently to how I kick now. I probably was way more like a soccer player back then. But by the time we got back to the coach's office, he'd offered me a scholarship. Get your master's degree, come move back to Florida Tech.
And you're like 32, 33 at this point? 33.
Yeah, probably 32. I was going to be 33 in that May. So I was 32 at the point of this happening. But then Florida Tech cancelled their program in the summer.
Yeah, so they convinced you to come back, and then after they do that, they shut the program down.
Yeah, well, COVID. So this was January.
COVID shut a lot of things down.
February, COVID came out of nowhere. And then life changed. And it was like, I was supposed to go to Florida to train. And so I had to pivot. And what I did was train myself. I stayed in England, found a rugby field, found a couple of balls on Amazon, and went out and kicked every day and just filmed myself. I had a tripod, looked at professionals and how they kicked and just tried to mimic that, and thought, look, well, if there's going to be an opportunity, I'm going to be ready. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but I'm not going to not be prepared. And then, May was when Florida Tech cancelled. And I kind of thought, well, this is the football journey over. Because I'm 33, who's going to take me on now? Without seeing me, I've never played. Well, I put a load of footage on Twitter and YouTube, and I had about 15 schools reach out to me from D2, because I only had D2 eligibility because I'd ran out of my D1 during soccer time. But I had about 15 schools saying, hey Dean, interested in your footage. Can we talk more? Yeah, and I ended up whittling it down to 5 or 6 schools and chose CSU Pueblo. Felt like Colorado would be a good place. They were former national champions, great facilities, and thought, why not? So I was lucky to have that second opportunity come around, And Colorado State Pueblo obviously took a chance on me, having never played before. And when I got there was when I really started honing in on the skills and snap and hold and training hard. And then I had one season and that was it.
You're done.
Yeah, well, because COVID took away another season.
Yeah.
So
Your eligibility's up anyway, right?
yeah, should have had 2. COVID took 1, and then my eligibility was up. So,
Did you get any coaching from coaches at that point? Or were you still kind of teaching yourself?
I'd had a little bit. I found someone online that I went over some stuff, and then when I got to Colorado, I was just, I still teaching myself really, and the special teams coach was helping me at that point. Other kickers at Colorado State were and so I just really, I'd had a natural leg and I was hitting field goals. It wasn't like I was missing. There was no major, it was little things that now as a kicker and as a coach I see, but then you might not have you see the ball going through the uprights. Cool. But I was kicking it like a soccer player, so I had to really adapt my technique.
So your technique now is a lot different from when you started, I imagine.
Massively, yeah. If I look at film from those first days on a rugby field in the rain in England and look at them now, it's night and day. Just having to follow through more, kicking a football is a lot harder than kicking a soccer ball. There's a lot less leeway with where you hit the ball on an American football. So I had to really hone in on those, kicking it the same way every time. So yeah, it's changed for sure.
At Pueblo, is that where you got your master's degree?
Yes.
Yeah, and in business, right?
Master's in business, yeah, MBA. So yeah, done my 2 years there. Obviously the one COVID year. So yeah, and lucky enough to get a master's degree out of it too. So
There's nothing lucky about getting a master's degree, my friend. I believe a guy who's unmastered, I believe you got to work hard for those. So.
No, I did. Yeah, I did. As far as in the classroom, yeah, I just think lucky to have the opportunity to do it, and then obviously that's going to help me in the future. I hope so.
Tell me about game day kicking.
Love to. Yeah, so I suppose the MBA triggered that too. I thought, well, I've learned about business. Why not?
Might as well have one.
Want to have one. Start my own. Let's see where this goes. And, I wanted to do something I was passionate about. I'd obviously done my project management stuff before, wasn't passionate about it. And thought, well, I've had an opportunity by accident. How can I give kids like me an opportunity on purpose? Can I put this in front of them? Because if I'd known about kicking before, maybe I'd have picked it up before I was 33. And maybe I probably would have been a much better kicker than a soccer player overall. So I thought, well, if I can start my own thing, I can help kids, at least show them the opportunities that are out there. And so that was my plan. And it started in Denver. And so I teach kickers how to kick and mainly bring soccer players and transfer them to American football.
That you can teach. Right?
That I can teach, yeah. I've been there, done it. And the same with rugby. You can transfer rugby players over. And so I work with a lot of rugby players, soccer players. And obviously the ultimate goal was to provide a pathway, kids from England to America or even Canada now, to the, with the global program they've got here. And maybe there's a pathway for more English kickers.
Is it in Colorado?
It's based in Colorado, but I do have coaches working for me in New Zealand, Australia, that do their own thing, but under the game day name. I have a couple of kids. I have the CSU Pueblo kicker running game day kicking in Colorado right now. So it's still going, just slowly ticking over.
You have your fingers in it from a distance, I'm guessing.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been hard because I just focused on this now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's still going in Colorado and Australia and England, and I've been thinking about maybe bringing it to Canada somehow.
And is that the post-career career you want to take?
I think so, yeah. Love to be able to stay in the game.
Going to get back in the media?
I don't know, maybe.
Might be tough nowadays.
Maybe, yeah. Exactly, yeah, maybe. I think that's the route I want to go. I wanted to be a teacher way back. And I think coaching is very similar. And I love being able to give an opportunity to somebody else that might not have thought of that. So yeah, I think coaching, after post-playing, definitely going to coach.
You've been in Edmonton, we're about to hit July. You've been in Edmonton since mid-May.
Yeah.
What's it been like for you? Tell me about Edmonton. How do you like living here? What's really hit you about being an Edmontonian?
Honestly, I haven't seen too much apart from the stadium to where I'm staying, and I've tried to get about. I bought a bicycle to ride around, so obviously the river is beautiful down there. and I said this before I even turned up in Edmonton, is what I wanted to do is try and connect with the fans and try and be part of something to bring great football back to Edmonton. And you realise that there is that fan base. The fans do want it. They want to see success. And so, like, I love the community that Edmonton has here. Appreciate the support on the field. So I've noticed that Edmonton is a really, a great sports community. And so hopefully we can bring some success for them. And we all do, believe me.
You've had some interaction on Twitter, though, with some fans?
Yeah, a little bit. It's mostly been positive. Yeah, and I've heard from the media team that TikTok I'm popular on, which I'm not on. So I don't know, but maybe I need to get on there.
We're both too old for TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. I think I avoided that one, but maybe I need to go on just to interact with some people. And yeah, the people seem great.
Yeah, I imagine, though, you've found your favorite restaurants and stuff like that, or not? You still looking?
Still looking. I love a Wayback burger. Have you been to Wayback? It's a burger place downtown called Wayback.
I think I have.
It's good. It's good. But yeah, I need to know the...
Do you still... You haven't, like we said earlier, you haven't lived in England for a long time, full time. Do you miss fish and chips? You still like fish and chips or whatever the popular English meal is?
I do.
And that might be a stereotype with the fish and chips. I don't know. But do you seek that out still, even though you've been away for such a long time?
Yeah, I do. I think I miss the food. I think I have to admit I do miss the food. And when I go home, I indulge in it. But it's the basic food. I'm pretty basic English. I love my roast dinners.
Yeah. Yorkshire pudding?
Yorkshire puddings. Yeah, I miss Mum's home cooking. Our stews and our casseroles, pasties and pies, things like that.
What? Pies? What do you say?
They're called pasties.
Pasties?
You ever had a Cornish pasty?
No.
Pasties.
And what is it?
It's like it's pastry. It's kind of like a pierogi, but a big one.
Okay.
It's got like meat and onions and a sauce inside of it.
Okay.
Like a pie. Have you had a pot pie?
Yes.
Kind of like that, but the whole thing is a pie.
Now, you said pierogi. I remember I talked to you about pierogies your first day of training camp and asked you if you'd heard of them. So you've obviously had some?
I've had plenty now, yeah.
You like them?
They're very similar. It's kind of like a little bit of meat encased in whatever. Is that pastry? What is a
it's dough. I wouldn't call it a pastry because it's not flaky or anything, right?
No, it's
more like a pasta doughy kind of thing, right?
That's true. But it's very similar. Pastry's very like our pies and pastries are similar. We have whatever you want inside of it, meat and cheese, and they're beautiful. So I like pierogi.
Man, I'm hungry now.
Yeah.
All right.
Me too.
All right. We're going to get to the red zone now, which is the final 3 questions to get you out on. So here we go. Ask the same 3 questions to everybody on Antler Up. First CFL game you ever saw?
First CFL game I ever saw it would have been preseason that I was playing in.
I've got that answer a lot from guys.
Yeah.
This is the one I played in.
Obviously, you're on about live. Obviously, I watched some highlights, seen some footage on TV, but the first full game, that was that first preseason game at Calgary, right?
In Calgary, yeah. Okay. All right. Second question. Your best, this is I guess a 2-pronged question for you because it could go either way. Your best football memory. And by football, I mean football or football.
We can have both.
Yeah.
God, my best football memory would have to be, as far as soccer goes, when England went to the World Cup, David Beckham scored a free kick against Greece. Mm-hmm. And I remember that because I was a kid and we went crazy. And it took us to the World Cup. Still get goosebumps if I watch it on YouTube or see it. Best football memory would be in college. We went to overtime and I had to make a kick to keep us in the game. I think it was only a 35-yarder, but it was a pressure situation. I made the kick and we went on to score the next play and win by a touchdown. And that was just a great moment. And I hope to get many more of those moments, game winners and yeah.
Nice. You're talking about the World Cup. I can't imagine how massive that is in Europe when that's going on. I mean, it's big here, and we enjoyed it last year so much because the Edmonton connection with Alphonso Davies, and he scored. And you talk about the goal that Beckham scored. That's the goal. That's Canada's first ever goal at the World Cup, and a guy from Edmonton scored it. So that's kind of, I'm getting goosebumps now, right? So that's kind of our soccer story. But I imagine the World Cup in Europe just must be like everything must just shut down.
It does, yeah. We used to have school off. We'd sneak out of school, or if we had lessons, they would play it for us in school. So we go to the school hall and watch it on TV and just have no lessons for the day. And yeah, everywhere shuts down. You know, there's a big expectation. So there's all this build up and excitement. And then if we fail or we lose, then it's a big depressing state after. You know, that whole place is like a ghost town for a few days, and then people get their lives back. But yeah, like I said, people live around soccer. You know, kids love it. It's our main thing. It's a huge part of our culture.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last question. Biggest name in your phone?
Biggest name in my phone? Mm-hmm. I would say have to be some of the kickers that are out there in the NFL right now. So we've got Cameron Dicker. He's the Chargers kicker.
Yeah.
Brad Robbins is a punter. One of my good friends. He just got drafted, plays for the Bengals. So I'd say I don't have many famous people. I'd love to lie and say Beyonce, but
Wouldn't we all?
I'd be lying.
Yeah. All right. Dean, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much for joining us this week, and good luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right. That is Dean Faithfull on Antler Up this week. Elks at Ottawa on Friday night. You can see it on TSN. You can listen to Dave and me on 6:30 CHED and the Elks Radio Network. 5:30 is game time Friday night. Don't forget, hit that share button, like, subscribe, give us a comment too. Tell us who you want to hear from on future episodes of Antler Up. Let us know who you'd like to hear from. Our thanks again to Dean Faithfull. Thanks again for everyone for downloading and listening to the show this week, and we'll see you next time on Antler Up.
Touchdown, Antler Up. Edmonton touchdown Elks. Taylor Cornelius takes it himself as he got an open lead to the end zone. Antler Up, Edmonton touchdown Elks.